Hurricane Helene.
Did you happen to get a flu shot?
I did not, but I saw they're giving them out.
Yeah.
Hurricane Helene. Helene is how people think my name is if I go to Starbucks and they write it down. Helene.
That's hilarious.
Like Paulina. Helene.
Yeah, we've got the hurricane coming. I'm not, watch this not age well. I'm not worried about it.
Not at all. I'm never worried about it.
No, same. But again, watch this not age well. Watch us get blown away.
No, we never do. But everything's canceled. The yoga studios are closed tomorrow.
Nice.
My car place is closed tomorrow. Everything's canceled.
A nice little day off.
I guess it's a nice little day off.
A little day off. That'll be good.
That way I can peruse Twitter more. Because that's what I need more in my life.
Or watch more of what was the show?
MILF Manor. Damn you, Travel Pockets. Damn you for suggesting MILF Manor.
Yeah, you were telling me about MILF Manor. We're not going to spend a whole episode talking about MILF Manor, so we're going to go ahead and skip past that.
Just, we've been a little under the weather.
Yeah, so
I think that's what happens if you don't get a flu shot.
Yeah, that's what happened is we didn't get flu shots, and so now we're paying for it.
Yeah.
No, we had to release a late episode this week because I got sick. Yeah. And then you got sick.
Yeah, and I thought we don't believe in germ theory or viruses. So how did that happen?
I think with germ theory I think we have grossly misunderstood germ theory. I think that's more correct. I don't think that it's totally nonsense, but I think that there's not some invisible boogeyman that jumps from person to person. Does that make sense?
No, there's not. But when I got real excited yesterday morning. In fact, in my brain, I thought, I wonder what Dr. Jack Kruse would say if he talked to Dr. Tom Cowan. Mm-hmm. And then what do you know that Jack Kruse tweets about Tom Cowan on Twitter? So I literally was just like, oh my gosh, I tweeted him. And I was like, literally, I was thinking this morning. I would love for you two to get on a podcast together, our podcast. And
please.
And he tweets me back and shits on Cowan.
Yeah. What did he say?
I forgot the term he used.
Low agency?
Low agency. Basically a basic bitch. I think Jack Kruse called Tom Cowan a basic bitch.
That's hilarious.
Low agency. I had to look up low agency. I'm like, Tom Cowan is not low agency.
Disgraced doctors need to stick together.
They should. You don't got room to be, shitting all over your counterparts. I don't know. He's not a nice person, but he's very smart.
I like him a lot. I also
both of them, honestly. Not super nice, but both super smart.
Yeah. I also like that you and I never joined Twitter except for now. And so that's very funny to me that you can just tweet at people. You can just get people's attention. That's pretty nice.
As it turns out, I didn't know this. I didn't like any type of social media. I think all of it's pretty lame.
Yeah.
Twitter or X, it's the best they've got.
Wow.
It's so good.
I like that we're 20 years later on Twitter. Have you heard of this?
Have you heard of Twitter? It's so good. This is the one that Elon Musk owns, right?
Yeah.
Okay, this is going to be, I have a feeling they're tracking but they'll never know. Is it me or you?
Yeah, that's the move. That's the move. So I've got a friend in town this week, as you know, mm-hmm. and she was in Ireland during the COVID lockdowns,
uh-huh.
and so she's not really. She's had a very unique experience of the last few years.
Okay.
And she was not receptive to me saying it's a scam when she was not allowed to leave a mile from her house. And anyway, so it's just, I've had her here this week. We've been chatting about different things. And I realized last night that I am her personal Alex Jones.
Oh, that's nice.
Because I started talking about medical kidnapping.
Oh.
And I realized, her eyes just, glazed over. And I realized that in that moment, I basically screamed,
They're turning the frogs gay. Yes. They're turning the frogs gay.
Yeah, I basically screamed, they're turning the frogs gay at her. Because that's how absurd medical kidnapping seemed to her.
Did you see that AJ was on Tucker Carlson? Who's become the guy right now?
Oh, yeah. I didn't see it, but yeah, I heard he was on.
People are going nuts for him.
I heard he was on.
And they dropped the amount of money that he's got to pay for Sandy Hook.
They did?
Yeah, so it was something ridiculous.
It was $1 billion.
Something, and then they dropped it down to less, but they're making him sell InfoWars, I think.
Who's going to buy it?
I know. Maybe
That's
Elon
fun.
Musk.
That's fun.
Maybe Elon Musk.
But yeah, I realized that, first of all, you can't just glaze over the term medical kidnapping. Okay, I want to dive into it just a little bit here.
No, I'm not going to glaze over it. This is like that documentary we watched.
Take Care of
Natalie. Was it?
Maya.
Oh, Maya. Take Care of Maya.
Yeah. It's on Netflix, and it's a documentary about a young girl who had complex pain syndrome, CPS or something.
Just south of us.
Yeah, just south of us in like Sarasota-ish area.
Yes.
And they took her to a hospital in Pinellas County.
Yeah, and St. Pete, I think all children's.
And what the mother didn't realize, well, first of all, it's CPRS, that's what it is, complex regional pain syndrome, CRPS. And it's one of those diagnoses that like it's difficult to get. It's like Lyme disease. Like by the time somebody even believes you that your pain is real or that these symptoms that you have are real, that it's a situation where like only certain doctors can really help you. The sort of general, mass healthcare system kind of thinks you're a kook.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this little girl was having extreme pain and there wasn't a whole lot to point to as to what was going on. But like one day she like couldn't walk and her mother was a nurse.
A thorough nurse. I think she was an immigrant or something.
Yeah, she was Polish.
Yeah, which strong ladies.
Yes. Yeah, fool them once with communism. They're going to make sure they dot all their I's and cross their T's.
For sure. So she was on this. It's not like she was like neglecting her child in any way.
No. But I guess she ended up taking her kid to Mexico to get ketamine treatments because they learned that apparently if you just like reset the kid's brain with like basically a ketamine coma, you put them in a K-hole.
You put him in a K-hole. You put your kid in a K-hole.
Apparently, if you put your kid in the K-hole, it helps with the CRPS like tremendously. So
that's wild.
So anyway, so she takes her daughter to the hospital because she was having some issues, and the hospital basically medically kidnapped her child. Like within a week, she was just like not allowed to see her kid ever again.
I did not know that was even allowed. That is so scary as a parent.
So not only is it allowed, but your girl went down the rabbit hole of why this is happening because apparently Florida is just like egregious about it, but specifically Pinellas County is like has the highest rate of intake for taking kids from their parents. So I read 38% of children, all children who get admitted into a hospital their parents will be under investigation for abuse. And the kind of mantra is that like they assume abuse first and then rule it out. So guilty until proven innocent. Yeah. And
meaning the state has more say over your child than you do.
Yes. And so this could be like something totally like not a big deal.
Sounds to me like communism.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
So it could be something simple like your kid swinging in the backyard and falls off the swing and breaks their arm. If you weren't there to see it exactly and you go to the hospital and you start to say like, hey, like my kid was swinging, I ran inside to grab a cup of coffee, he broke his arm, I didn't see exactly what happened.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he must have fallen off the swing. First things first, you never hypothesize what happened because every time you quote unquote change your story. So like, let's say later on you're talking to somebody, you're like, well, his brother was out there, maybe his brother pushed him. That's you changing the story. That puts you as a red flag. Like, again, it could be something totally
not and the idea is they're trying to protect children by doing this.
Right. But there's these, at every single hospital, there is a doctor on staff who specifically reviews cases, all of these cases to see if there's abuse. It's a child abuse pediatrician. So like if you were, say, example, like you wanted to be a pediatrician and you want to go and have a specialty in that, maybe you want to do pediatric surgery, maybe you want to do pediatric this or that, you can do pediatric child abuse as your like specialty.
What do you think the credentials are for that?
I'll tell you, you never treat a patient. You never get your hands on a kid.
You're kidding.
Yeah, you never once treat a patient. And then you get these like crazy cush hospital jobs where you literally just check out paperwork and then accuse people of abusing their kids. Apparently, it's a straight up epidemic.
Yeah.
And like people, so a lot of people don't talk about it. So that's another thing is if you get accused of abusing your kid, like that's shameful.
Sure.
So
like, you're not trying to tell anybody that your kid got taken away.
That you got investigated, right? Even being investigated is like kind of icky, you know? So it's this whole program. It's this entire system. It's a massive money-making scheme for the state.
Yeah. Let's go back real quick to the Maya story. And the horror that happened. So they take the kid away from her, right? They keep her at all children's, and then they don't allow her to come see her own child.
Yeah. They keep the girl in the hospital for months and don't let the mother to even like see her. And then she's allowed supervised phone calls where like a DCF like agent has to be on
And
the
they
call.
kept her for months, and they kept her like through Christmas, and the mom was just begging, like, please let me see my daughter, please.
Yeah. So another thing is apparently they like to separate parents. So like they try to good cop, bad cop the parents. And that's what happened in the case of Maya. So they separate the parents and then they start digging and they're like.
Into the marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Like, your wife's kind of a bitch, right?
We get him on a bad day. He's like, yeah, she's
like,
kind of a bitch.
she is.
Yeah.
Especially like, look, if you got a sick kid, safe to assume you've got a stressed marriage.
Totally.
Right? Like it's not an easy thing financially, emotionally, all that kind of stuff. So you go and you corner a sad little dad.
Yeah, and sad dad. And this, I want to say this marriage too, they were already like sleeping in separate bedrooms, so they found a little in.
Yeah. And then they're like, she's kind of extreme, isn't she? And he was like, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And they're like, would you say like kind of she's mean? He's like, yeah, she's mean. Like they basically built a case against the mother who hadn't done anything wrong. And anyway, I'm not going to spoil the documentary if you want to see. It's called Take Care of Maya. It's on Netflix. It'll blow your mind once you see the statistics of how common this is.
I would never watch documentaries like that. I don't like sad stuff in general. I don't like to expose myself to that. I stumbled upon it on accident. And then what piqued my interest was like, this is in our backyard.
Yeah. Well, so not only is it in our backyard and the rates are crazy high in our backyard, but then I'm in my best friend's face last night screaming they're turning the frogs gay basically at her because she looked at me like I was a moron. Like, please, it's not going to happen. It's like that's no big deal. It's not going to happen. But I literally said to her, I was like, Caroline, no, I'm like top of the list for something like this. I didn't vaccinate my son. I'm top of the list if I take him to a hospital for abuse.
You abused him.
Like the fact that, if you don't take your kid to every well appointment, that first year of their life, you're on the list.
Yeah.
If you don't have a pediatrician on file, you're on the list. Like there's so many things that go off as red flags that I was like, no, Caroline, like genuinely, this is something that I have to think about.
Yeah.
God forbid I have to take my son to a hospital someday.
That's so crazy. And then there's like another really weird aspect of it, like that whole shaken baby syndrome thing where the kid gets vaccine injured and then you can't figure out why, like it stops breathing or something. And I'm not saying it happens in all the cases, but in some cases it does. And then they're like, yeah, well, the parent must have shook the kid to death, or the parent and the parents are just like, what? I didn't do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, apparently this child abuse pediatrician thing only started to exist in like university hospitals at first. And it was specifically after the sort of like name or term was coined for Munchausen by proxy. So that's that thing where you
make your kids sick.
You're making
like
your kid sicker,
yeah.
and it kind of like makes you feel needed or whatever it is. So once they like coined that term, that's a thing, then they started really looking out for it. And for sure that happens.
Yeah.
Like 100% that happens. But like these, like that seems like it would be quite apparent.
Yeah, that's happening.
Right. Compared to, you can usually tell somebody's a little squirrely upon talking to them. But anyway, whatever. I got very, very heated about medical kidnappings.
What I thought was interesting in that documentary is at the end, they showed all the people who had been medically kidnapped, like, or their children had been, and they kind of went through them. So I went and started looking some of them up, and one was like local. I want to say like either Tarpon Springs or something, and was like taken away from his father was arrested. I think his father's still in jail, and he said like at the end of the for nothing.
Wow.
But like they can take the parent away and like not only just take the kid away, but then like incarcerate you.
Oh yeah, the craziest thing about all of this is at the end of it, you have to put up all this money for all your legal fees to fight to say that you're not an abuser, and then at the end of it, if they find that you're not guilty, that's it. They just get to walk away. Yeah. They don't have to pay. You're stuck with a mountain of legal fees. This sort of stigma that you've been accused of these things.
Yeah.
And the state's just like, oops, my bad. We were just looking out for your kid. Sorry.
What happens in that Take Care of Maya documentary is horrific at the end. So I'm not going to give it away if somebody wants to watch it. But I will say this, after years of being in a court battle all throughout COVID with suing the hospital, they won.
Yeah. Yeah.
They won.
The family ends up winning.
So after having gone through that and traumatizing your kid and keeping the kid away from the family for so long, and then at the end to turn out that they were completely in the wrong, the state, for having done stuff like that.
There's a lady on, she's actually on TikTok, I think. It's a child abuse lawyer or something like that. A child abduct lawyer or something like that. But she had her child medically abducted. She had one of those kids that, have you heard when they call them like pans or pandas?
Yeah, I have heard that.
Yeah. So those are like people who have like children who have like kind of like behavioral issues, but they say that it has to do with like panda, I think is the one that has to do with strep. It's so after a kid has strep, they can get like almost like tics or ADHD symptoms, or but like extreme. And so her son had one of those pandas. And so again, complicated medical diagnosis, like, you know, you've got pages and years behind you trying to figure out what's wrong with your kid because every doctor's just like, don't know, we ran their blood and it looks good. But anyway, so she had her child attempted medically kidnapped by the state, and she sued the shit out of the state. And now because she's a lawyer, and then now she goes and she won. And not only did she win, the win was so big that like they had like local politicians opening up the books to be like, what is going on here? How come all these kids are going missing? But anyway, so
what do you think the sinister plan is behind it? Do you think there's something deeper?
No, I think it's just one of those things where it's bureaucracy, right? Like if you put somebody in the position to find abuse and that's their one and only job, every year that passes and they don't find abuse, it's like, what do we have you here for?
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You can't just sit on Facebook all day, can you?
At some point, you gotta start pointing some fingers somewhere.
Yeah. Have they tried Twitter?
Can keep you busy for hours.
X is popping off.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it too, is that like, I don't think that there's some nefarious plan to like capture kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, parents that are doing things differently, you've got a target on your back that people are going to think that you're mistreating your child.
Yeah. So. You know, someone mentioned the other day, I was in a group and they were trying to make fun of somebody or something. And they're like, yeah, they probably homeschool their kids. And I was like, oh, that's still got a stigma, huh? I thought everybody's kind of turning the tide on that one.
Yeah. It's actually, I mean, it's really popular, but I'm not here to try and sell it to anyone.
Yeah.
It's not for me. But anyway, there does seem to be a tide turning. Also, did you see, we got a bunch of RFK Jr. news this week. Did you catch all of it?
A little bit. Maha, Make America Healthy Again?
Yeah. So Make America Healthy Again, right?
So he was running for president. Obviously, that wasn't going to work because he was an independent. Independents no, because it's a two-party system, because the whole system is screwed, because welcome to America. This is what we do. So he jumped on Trump's campaign.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be the...
So Robert Redfield, who is the former director of the CDC from 2018 to 2021, just published an opinion piece in Newsweek basically endorsing Trump and straight up saying RFK Jr. he was right.
About...
everything.
No way.
Yeah. So he gets name checked over and over again in RFK Jr.'s book about Fauci that he wrote.
Yeah.
Like RFK,
even though he was head of the CDC, and we know the CDC and NIH and all those other organizations get all of their funding from pharmaceutical companies.
Yes. So RFK Jr. blew him up in that book, being like, this guy knows what's going on. How dare he? Like, blew him up. So this guy has no reason to be on RFK Jr.'s team. I mean, he's got a very, very popular book out there just flaying him about what he did during COVID as CDC director. And he just came out. He literally before he published the piece, apparently went to RFK and said, like, you're right about everything.
Oh.
Yeah, then he published the piece, endorsing Trump and saying that RFK Jr. is exactly the man for the job, that obesity, autism, and infertility are the top 3 concerns.
Yeah.
As anybody who is concerned about health in this country, those should be your top 3 concerns, is why those rates are going higher and higher and higher. And RFK Jr. is the only person who's talking about getting on top of that.
On what's happening. You know, I saw Twitter, baby. I saw a map of the United States in the 1990s, and they were saying like the rates of obesity in the 90s versus now. I mean, it's insane.
Yeah.
And it's not just people are just lazy or it's not, and that's the worst part is like when you go blaming the people, and it's not just packaged food.
Like, it's just a bunch of fatties now.
Yeah. But you can't just say it's the food. It's not just the food. And I love that RFK is like, hey, we need healthier soils. We need, farms that are like doing regenerative practices and all that other kind of stuff. It's so many other things.
Oh, Robert Redfield said it in the Newsweek article. He said all of the major agencies are held captive. He said CDC, FDA, USDA, you name it. Like, these are all captive agencies. They are all influenced by special interests.
Totally.
We should be very wary of them.
Totally.
We can't expect these to protect us.
One thing that you don't even think about when it comes to obesity is, and we've talked about this before, but the blue light, the phones, the non-native EMFs. There's how many studies, and RFK Jr. has been screaming this. He's like, they buried almost 30 studies that showed that like if you hold this phone up to your ear, you're going to get cancer.
Yeah.
If you keep it on your body, you're going to get cancer.
Yeah.
And this is not even talking about the blue light. This was just of the EMF, the non-native EMF that comes, because obviously EMFs surround us. But
That video you sent me about every time you open your phone
with your facial recognition,
that it flashes like a crazy amount. They did it with like a
infrared
an
camera.
infrared camera. So you see just something as simple as like rolling over your bed and looking at your phone to check what time it is. It registers your face. It's blasting you with blue light.
Yeah.
I'll post the picture of it.
I thank you, because when I saw it visually, I was like, oh wow, this makes so much more sense here.
Yeah.
I actually talked about this today in my yoga class. Sometimes I feel like I get blank stares. I brought my hater blockers in and put them on and showed them too. But I was saying, especially now that we've come upon the equinox, where like the days are starting to get shorter, right? You start using a lot more unnatural light. We wanted to take this podcast outside, but Hurricane Helene had other plans for us. But the importance of that, of really blocking yourself from blue light, especially at night, it not only degrades the mitochondria, then it's every system in your body. So obesity, pain, all that other kind of stuff stems from this. On top of the food, on top of if you're not serious about your light. You got to be serious about your light health.
That was wild, that thing you sent me from Jack Kruse about ties. Lip and tongue and cheek ties and all of that, and the tied to the mitochondrial dysfunction, tied to things like it's light essentially. So whether it's excess blue light, not enough sunlight, but
this
light.
is so true. And when your baby was born, gorgeous perfection, but he had the lip and tongue tie
and cheek.
His
whole mouth was
and
tied.
then you come to hear more and more that so many kids are, because you told me like people aren't breastfeeding, or that it's super hard or super painful, and I'm like, yeah, but how many years ago there were no other options?
Yeah,
like,
so
I
were
get
all
it.
these kids just gonna die from not taking the milk? Yeah, it seems insane.
How did everybody get these ties? And you're like, something is happening.
Right.
And instead of us trying to get to the root cause, or people do get to the root cause, but then there's special interest groups that bury that information.
Yeah. Well, specifically, he was saying about the mitochondrial dysfunction, meaning that like, so the frenulum on top here, and then that kind of piece there that holds your tongue down. Yeah. And then the piece that holds your tongue down. Those are what we're talking about when we say tongue and lip ties. Cheek ties, I literally didn't even know was a thing until I found out my son had all of them. So that thing you have at the top of your lip.
Yes.
My son had them up here on his cheeks, down here on his cheeks. So his whole mouth was basically wired shut from them. And they said that apparently it's a thing that would normally have melted away during the fetal
Development
growth
process.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's something that like it starts like that, but then it starts to open up as, you know, the baby starts swallowing and that kind of stuff over time.
And the idea is the mitochondria dysfunction is because you've been exposed to blue light.
It must be because my vitamin D levels are low no matter what.
Yeah.
And I am outside in the sun more than anybody. My vitamin D levels were low in my first pregnancy. They didn't tell me the exact number in my first pregnancy. They just told me it was low and that I needed to supplement. And then I didn't. And now I'm thinking to myself, like, how much more sunlight could I have gotten?
Yeah.
The truth is I couldn't. But I was in front of a screen all day. I worked
For
from
work.
home.
Yeah.
And then when I wasn't in front of my screen, I was checking my phone.
Yeah.
And there's not a whole lot you can do
Your
to combat
pretend
that.
job, doing spreadsheets.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah. So because I had just blue light blasting at me at all times.
Yeah. This is what happens.
I mean, it's just like directly contrasting any of the
But you
sunlight.
wonder how much of this is just going to be like the natural progression of where we go. Do we fix this? Is it possible to fix this? I've said this before on one of our episodes, and I'll say it again. I want to say I heard it on one of either the Jack Kruse or something, but blue light is the new smoking. It's going to be that thing where people are like, I'm sorry, what? They said that was safe to put a device in a kid's hand.
Yeah.
They said it was safe for you to hold a phone all day long and look at it. And you don't even realize how much you're looking at the phone. You get your screen time report. Everybody should have to post that too. And then tell me. Then you have to talk.
Yeah.
Then you have to be like, be real.
Yeah.
Be real. How much are you looking at that computer or your phone or anything else? Because that's scrambling everything up too inside.
Totally.
You're not outside. We're supposed to spend 85% of our time outside.
Ever since you told me that, I've been really, really pushing to be outside more, especially in the morning and evening with my son. And I mean, we are outside. Again, we were outside already a lot, but now I'm like, since you said 85%, I'm like, okay, I can commit more. I can commit a whole lot more.
Yeah. You ever seen Dr. Jack Kruse when he does interviews and he has no shirt on?
No?
Just like Yeah, and I literally, again, I tweeted him. I was like, Doc shows us that we should go outside and always take our tops off.
Nice.
Expose as much skin as possible.
Yeah.
There used to be a time where we spent a lot of time outside, and I know people have said this, where kids ran around outside, you came home from school, and you ran around the neighborhood.
Yeah, but literally, dude, again, I look like I'm screaming they're turning the frogs gay at her. Because last night I was talking about that, and she was like, no, both of my grandparents have like chunks of their face missing from skin cancer. And I'm like, I know, and I know this is going to sound insane to you.
I know, but you need the sun.
But I'm telling you right now, we didn't evolve to not be in the sun. That makes zero sense.
0 cents. And we didn't evolve to put on SPF. We've talked about this. Right. But we are cooking from the inside with these seed oils.
Boomers are missing chunks of their face.
Yes.
And it's hard to compete with that.
And then everybody is scared of, but I don't care. I keep preaching light in my yoga classes. And I know they think I'm a psycho. So either keep coming, I'll weed them out. If you don't agree with it, cool, don't come. But if you find that there is some sort of wisdom in that, there's some innate wisdom in that we were designed to be outside, to be in tune with the cycles of nature.
Yeah.
Right. There was a time where women's menstrual cycles sync up with the moon.
Yeah. I mean, now you're lucky if you get one. We should really be looking into that infertility.
That's another one. The infertility thing. Yeah. That's so crazy.
Also, can we do just a really quick lane switch?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I want to talk more about what happened with RFK this week.
Oh, yeah. What else?
Did you see he got pinched for nudes?
No.
He got pinched. So,
I think Mom told me this, that he got caught cheating on his...
She went off on me about it.
She got so upset about it. And I was like, listen, have you seen RFK with his shirt off?
No, stop. Okay, don't enable it. So apparently don't enable it. It was first of all, he's a Kennedy. He can't help himself. Also, he's on testosterone. So
he's on T too?
Yeah, he's on T. So he's basically like a teenage boy. So what do we expect? But apparently there was some journalist and she did like a piece on him, completely flayed him in the piece, by the way. Like just like talked about what a kook he was apparently in the piece. And she afterwards hit him up. And they had a sexting relationship, and she sent him nudes. Imagine.
Wait, did he send nudes?
No, I don't think so. I mean, if so, World Collide will let you know once we are able to vet them.
I think you should send them this way just in case. Just in case.
No, but apparently, first of all, homie is 70. Gross, right? What are you even doing?
I am not into
She's like 30.
I am not into old men, but he's super hot. Talk about masculine energy, but I didn't realize he's married to Cheryl Hines. So I know that's not cool. That's not cool.
I don't love that
that's
either.
Not cool.
So the other thing is, I love this concept that she did her job as a journalist of writing that RFK Jr. is an absolute moron, like kook, crunchy kook.
And then she slutted out.
And then was like, but also I can't help myself. I'll see you later.
Not cool. Why did he fall for it?
He's a Kennedy. He's on testosterone. Like, good
I
luck.
know, they can't help it.
That's 2 strikes.
Shit. Do you think she's going to stand by her man, Cheryl Hines?
We'll see. They haven't said anything. He basically was like, I met her once to do the article. That's it. I never saw her again. I was like, they didn't say you touched her. They said you were sexting.
Do you think he even knows how to sext? He's
so
old.
That was making me laugh too, because like the thought
of wonder if this is a schmear campaign.
Because like Dad just turned 70, and Dad answers me primarily in gigantic emojis. So like the thought, like hard eye emojis. Like the thought of like a 70-year-old dude sexting. It's like, what are you even doing, bro? Go home. Like put your phone down.
Do you think he's talk to texting like Dad too?
His talk to Texas is gonna be having a tough time understanding his voice. But
no, man. Okay, so RFK Jr. is having a tough week.
Yeah, he is.
I don't know. Sometimes I wonder how much of this is like, I don't know. It's all a circus.
Oh, yeah, and obviously like they're trying to knock him down.
Yeah.
Right. And there's this also. So there was another article that came out. Gosh, what was it? The Atlantic, maybe? Mm-hmm. But they talked about that new, they got together a bunch of people in the last week. It was like RFK and a bunch of doctors, and like Jordan Peterson and his daughter were there, and a couple other people, like just like kind of fringy, societally fringy people who talk about like health and different diets.
Oh, is this where Jillian Michaels then went off? Yeah.
Yes. So apparently they wrote this like,
she talked to them like she talks to those fatties on Biggest Loser.
She
was just like, she gets so angry at them, so angry.
But yeah, she's not messing around. But apparently the girl who wrote the piece she's young, like younger than me. And she just basically wrote about how it's like crunchy conspiracy, crunchy, conservative, basically just like shitting all over this whole concept of like making America healthy again. Like they're dropping knowledge bombs about how sick we are as a country, and that like 75% of the $4 trillion that gets spent in healthcare a year in this country, 75% of it is on chronic illnesses.
Something's happening.
Right.
But we don't get to the root of it.
Right.
Right.
And anybody who talks about it, you're nuts.
You're crunchy.
You're crunchy.
You're a conspiracist.
You're conservative. That's
You're
another thing, too.
conservative.
That blows my mind too now, is that that's considered conservative
Yeah.
to talk about that kind of stuff.
Did we talk about this where Nicole Shanahan was like, listen, I was a liberal before this. I was always told that like liberals were like good people who care about others and who like, you know, and the conservatives are like trying to take things away from you or whatever else.
They only
And
care about money.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know, something has happened where everything's sort of upside down.
Yeah.
It's
But
interesting.
look, Dick Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris.
What the?
We're doing okay. All right.
Are you serious?
The earth is healing.
Well,
The earth is healing, dog.
God save us all with this hurricane coming through, Ange. From my mouth to God's ears that we're going to be safe. Dick Cheney is going to stand behind Kamala.
And everything's going to be okay.
And everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Here we go, baby. It's fall time.
It's fall. Okay. Well, anyway, we're going to wrap this up because genuinely the rain might start again soon and we might lose power. But that being said, thanks for watching the World's Collide podcast. Like and subscribe.
We're supposed to say that early on in the episode is what they've been telling me. We've been failing miserably. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. We're on that new channel, Worlds Collide. So follow us on there. And to Spotify, who's consistently coming through.
Yeah. And our last episode, we didn't get a strike on YouTube. So shout out to that.
Yeah, we did get a little Corvi warning.
Yeah, that's fine.
A Corvi warning.
Corvi warning is fine. Turns out you can say all the stuff you want to say as long as you fact checked all of them. And the last few episodes have been fact checking everything. So we're going to keep at it.
So if you can find the RFK nudes, just add that.
Okay, I'll just go ahead and toss it up top.
Thanks, brother.
Great. See ya.
Bye.